was the oldest grandchild.
Right.
And the youngest grandchild was Alan Polk Ridley. And they all others fit in between. But I think that the oldest girl, I think they said was either Aunt Bunt or Aunt Carolina. I think it was Aunt Bunt. Aunt Bunt was the oldest girl grandchild. And then they said that Mammy died in December 1941.
1940.
1940. And Pikey died. He was born in October, I think the 10th. In 1864, he was born the year that the Civil War ceased, so he was proud to be born a free man. Okay, after which he lived until he died in 1958.
Yes.
1958. March 1958. And so the first grandbaby I think born after he died, which would have been his great grandchild, was Elaine.
Yes.
My cousin Elaine. She was the first great grandbaby born after Patsy died. Our history goes on and on deeper, but what we want to remember is that a family that prays together stays together. And that Anderson and Francis Polk started the Polk family reunion because they wanted their family to stay together. They taught their children to love one another, and they were a close family. I can remember as a child, my Uncle Johnny B and Uncle Joe would come to my granny house on Wharf Avenue, and they had farms, and they would bring my granny baskets of food, corn, green beans, tomatoes, and she would make us shuck peas and pick green beans.
All day long.
All day long. And she would make us put that stuff in the freezer. But they were taking care of their sister. They were helping their sister. They were taking care. I remember my Uncle John, who's going on now, would tell me that when he was a little boy, that his biological mother died, and he said that my grandmother would bring my mama to the country and take care of them, cook for them until Uncle Johnny B married again. And they said that he married Aunt Belle, who raised his children till they were grown. So I want the Polks to know. I was in Chicago a few weeks ago. Me and Reese and them was talking. And Reese told me something that I didn't know. She said that we got something to be proud of. She said we don't come from anything. This is what Aunt Chunk told her. That the Polk name means something. That before there was a Count Basie and there was a Louis Armstrong, there was an Anderson Polk who had a brass band of his own and played and had a brass band. We are somebody. We are somebody, and we come from great stock. Well, most of all, we belong to God. And let us not forget who we are and where we come from. Although teeth and tongue fall out, but we are a family. And we have to stay together. We have to stay together. We have to love one another. That is one of the commandments that God gave. Jesus gave the disciples. He said, love ye one another as I have loved you. And so that's what we have to do. We have to love one another. And though it seems like a lot every year, but we have to meet every year. We have to. There's no way to get around it. We have to stay together. Because many of them are gone home. Many. But God left us here for a reason. And I'm talking now to the great-grandchildren. We got to teach our children. We're the great-grandchildren. And Nisha and Keela and Troy, Michael, all of y'all are the great-great-grandchildren. We got to teach y'all. We have to keep the Polk name going. We cannot stop. We cannot let it stop. Out of the 18 grandchildren, there are only 7 grandchildren left living. They are from, which is my Uncle Dick. And after Uncle Dick, there's Aunt Dorothy, Dorothy Polk, Williams. And after Aunt Dorothy is my mama, Hattie C. And after my mama is Uncle Les and Uncle Frank, and then Uncle DC, and then Uncle Al. Those are the 7 grandchildren left out of the 18. Started with 18. Now it's 7. So we've come a long way. It's so important that we stick together. How many of us, I don't know the little younger ones remember us having family reunions at Uncle Johnny B. house.
I do.
And looked at the cows how many of us remember us being at Uncle Joe and Aunt Ella and at Sunset Park?
I do.
Those are the things we have to teach our children. On the website, on the Polk website, it said it started with Ridley, really, but that it didn't mean that the Polk family starts with Francis and Anderson, but they were saying the picture started with Ridley's family because we didn't have all those. Venetia's in the process of setting up a new website, and all of us that have pictures, we need to put them on. I did see there was a picture of Pikey on there, which I had never seen in my entire life. I always hear the story of Pikey. I always hear how he loves his grandchildren, but I never, ever have seen a picture of Pikey. And I want to thank Cleveland 216 for that poster, because that let people know who all my life I hear my mama say that Uncle Frank and Uncle Les' mama was Aunt Lily Mae, and she was a McLean. But I never saw who Aunt Lily Mae was until right now. So that's what I'm saying. That's what's so important. So I just want to say, if there's anything that anybody else would like to add to the Polk family reunion, I went online to try to see if I could find out some information. I went on Ancestry.com, and I found out something very important that I'm going to use as a trivia question for y'all today, you Polk historians. I went on Ancestry.com, and I found Pikey's 1910 census report. So I found out something about Pikey that I didn't know. So I was like, maybe I got the wrong Pikey. So I called my mom, and I said, Mom, is Pikey such and such and such and such? And she was like, that's the right Pikey. So I have a question for you today. I have 4 trivia questions. The first trivia question that I learned from Ancestry.com is, what was Pikey? Anderson Polk had 2 brothers. None of the grandchildren, Mama, Uncle Les, Uncle Frank, cannot answer this question. Pikey had 2 brothers. Who were they?
Hold on, you back.
You can't give everybody be quiet. I gave y'all a clue when I read the names of their children, because 2 of their children were named after his 2 brothers. Who was Pikey's brother? Pikey had 2 brothers.
John and